Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells all regarding family court, criminal court, and other court issues as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. The books are on audio as well. Raised by These Wolves Volume 3 will be coming out, I hope, next week. If you have a tale to tell, you're also welcome to contact me on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. I have a return guest. I have Dave Weigel on. He was last on season 5, episodes 230 and 278. Now, Dave is a top money manager in New York who comes to us via his advocacy work, where you will find him on Facebook, and he's really more well known to some as the family court fraud warrior on social media and in the press. I welcome you back, Dave Weigel. We have a lot to go over. How are you?
Uh, I am good. I am good. Coming off a whole 3 hours sleep last night. So in my world, that might as well be 12 hours. So
Yeah, yeah.
in your world, that might as well be a 12-hour sleep fest. So I'm feeling fairly sprite for once.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. What's
But
going on in your world? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah, God, so much, so much. I mean, every aspect of this, and it's funny to listen to you introduce me here because I remember when you asked me and you said, "Oh, your process is to introduce. Can you write up a paragraph about who you are?" And listening to you speak right there, it just reminded me, like, wow. I mean, that was like 12 worlds ago. At that point, I was on your first podcast very early on. And at that point, I had been doing everything personally on my personal page. So I was introducing myself as Dave Weigel, parental alienation activist and
Mhm.
family court fraud warrior. I don't know where I came up with the name, but I just felt like, this was a war and I felt like a war torn, POW in all of this. And, it just kind of came out.
Mhm.
And, since that first podcast to where we are now, as you know, we opened up the project, the group, you
Mhm.
know, I had said to people a lot who, we were just talking before offline that it's kind of amazing all of the vitriol going back and forth between advocates in this advocacy Olympics that seems to be going on here now. That is just really just mind blowing. That it's got me, saying like, what, what's really going? How could people be looking at what they're looking at and having the reaction, that they are? So I've been mentioning to my group and everyone. I said, look, I think somebody, Darren Gay just did a whole AI analysis of me. He actually said, "Show me Dave Weigel the fraud," and AI came back and said, "Sorry, he's the real deal."
Mhm.
And that's why I stepped up, because not only did I get my kids back this way in a very, very unique way, and I just felt like I had the key to be able to pass forward. I also said to myself, if you don't do this, Dave, who else is going to provide this shock
Mhm.
factor that, truly is coming at this, truly from a high integrity level, has 30 years as a fiduciary, can speak to financial fraud and the connection the way that I am. And I'm like, so I felt like it was my duty,
Mhm.
to try and do my part in this, So from the beginning, I could have made this the Dave Weigel show. Hey,
Yeah.
everyone, look at me, look at me, look at me. Come to my personal page, make sure I get
Mhm.
the monetization. And from the very beginning, I set this up as a project, and
Right.
we now call it, the Warrior Project, which I understand is somebody else has that name, the vet organization from 2016, and they're quite big. So I don't want to bite off them. They know they do great, great, great work. So, it's just a lot of people have a hard time saying five words: family court fraud warrior project. It even takes a bit for it to roll off my tongue at times. So we're also out there, under the DBA of the Warrior Project, full well, asking politely of the real Warrior Project to please don't mind that, we borrow this little, short name, for it. But
Mhm.
yeah, in the beginning, I was holding myself out as the fraud warrior, but now where we've got now close to 12,000 warriors connected in 10 months, 10
That's
months of
amazing.
operation, 10 months of operation, which is amazing and horrifying to think that there are that many victims of this system out there. And I still think we're only of how many are really out there. Obviously, I'm only, one man. I mean, you've done what, 800 now? I mean, if you had a ballpark a number of how many victims, children, parents, just let's just give it to children and parents, not even in-laws and related parties. If you had to throw a number to it, what would you say?
I would probably say close to 800, but I also take phone calls from parents that are distraught. Not just even family court stuff, but the fraud stuff, the bank fraud stuff, other weird stuff like that.
Yeah, probate, estate fraud,
Mhm,
like it's, once the lawyers have created a mafia,
mhm.
right? And, I equated this the other day. It's like, people talking about where are things now versus even 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. Because people tell me, oh, yeah, no, 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 I had a horrible divorce 10 years ago. It's like, don't even tell me 10 years ago. 10 years ago was like 12 worlds, right? Because at that point, the Bar Association could have been made up of 100 people, right?
Mhm.
And 85 were demons, but 15 were regular people. How long does it take to filter out those last 15? Right. And what does it become when the last good guy goes, the last, stand up woman that has morals and ethics and finally says, enough of it. I'm retiring. I quit. I can't be here anymore. I'm too outnumbered. I always say, that's when a dog becomes a cat,
Mhm.
right? And we were just talking offline about like the lunacy out there and the mental health issue. It makes a lot of sense that people go through this system and suffer such a dignity, raping, right? We
Right.
also saying how we can't say words that are the real words that speaking to community. One of the other things that I said from the very beginning is that no, I understand from Wall Street, they create a different language for purposeful reasons,
Mhm.
right? We sound like we're really smart and we speak a different language
Mhm.
and we're able to take advantage of people that way. All right. Same thing in the legal world. Oh, CPLR 8260 means nothing. I'm going to speak English to people. I'm going
Right.
to say, this is what it is. Okay. And I haven't found a word that is more accurate, I'm afraid, is more accurate than what you go through in family court than, a dignity, raping, you know
Exactly.
and this is no disrespect, god forbid, to any of the victims that have actually suffered. I can't even imagine going through. I actually can imagine it because as part of my story, they
Mhm.
sent me to Rikers Island, a man with no criminal background whatsoever, not a single criminal conviction of anything in
Yeah.
53 years of life. Somehow I end up in a place that one of the 10 worst prisons in the world that you're only
Wow.
supposed to go to if it's your 10th violent felony. Yeah, that's the power that they have. Yeah, I had to think a lot at that point what it was going to be like when they came to gang RAPE me.
Mhm.
So I
That's
have a little
horrifying.
bit of clout to be able to speak to it because of the legitimate fear, but I
Mhm.
still haven't experienced the physical aspect of it. But what I imagine the severity, I haven't heard anybody that has gone through this family court thing that has said, no, Dave, you're overestimating this, that you can't use that word with this. So you got to think, right? Everything in this world is action reaction. For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction, right? So, what is that reaction to that level of the third rail, removing a child from a parent through a fraud? It makes sense. You're treated to be such a lesser human, right? You're not even human. You're below human. You're below that level and below that level of what kind of a person. And it was so funny in one of our campaign cases recently. That's exactly what the heathen attorney said. She commented to somebody on Facebook and said, come on, you don't think they remove kids from mothers for no reason, do you? Right. And I was like, mother effort. Like, yeah, they know that that is their leverage point. That is what it looks like to the whole world out there. And we've said, yeah, you want to silence a mother, steal her kid. What
Mhm.
is she supposed to do? Go running around like, hey, this happened to me? No, it's impossible to have that happen to you without you feeling horrible about yourself.
Mhm.
So when you make that step to say, wait a second, I found a lot of people on Facebook and other places stepping up and announcing, no, I am a victim, but it makes sense that this advocacy work that people are doing
Mhm.
becomes their identity, right?
Mhm.
And whatever their thing is, whatever they figure out, I'm going to do a documentary.
Mhm.
I'm going to do a federal case. I'm going to do a RICO. I'm going to do it this way, that way. Everybody's got their thing.
Mhm.
With my project, it is really a massive rethink of this whole thing. And we're telling people stuff that it takes a lot to go through. Like, you're not in a legal process. This is not a court of law.
Mhm.
That this is just organized crime made to look like a court of law. But you tell somebody like, yeah, all these legal processes, have you looked? Have you seen any one of them succeed? Anyone? And the simple truth is, I know that they're so buried in their case. No, they haven't looked. Okay. Or they've barely looked, because if they had, they would, come away with what we've discovered. And again, my unique position, I even said that. I said, who would have ever had the vested interest to do the work that I'm doing and
Mhm.
in evaluating all of these cases at my level of analytical, training,
Mhm.
right? And fraud detection training. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm a certified portfolio manager. 1/6 of the CFP is ethics. Okay. It is highly regulated every 2 years. They
Uh-huh.
go through every line item of my personal bank account. There's nothing
Mhm.
off the radar. Okay. And
Mhm.
that's the way fiduciaries are supposed to be regulated for good reason.
Right.
And what is it? I only have control over somebody's money. The worst thing I could possibly do to somebody is bamboozle a rich person out of their money. Right. Look what these lawyers have the ability to do.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Look what they'd have in family court: steal your children, rewrite the story of who you are, turn you into a criminal, remove you from your family, isolate you, mentally abuse you to the point where you're either committing suicide or going crazy, mentally torment you, threaten you with jail. If you speak up, throw you in jail. Okay. And then when you come out, saddle you with debt slavery for the rest of your life. So if you do
Yeah.
decide to live, now you're living off of 15% of, your earned income. You
Mhm.
are now a slave for the rest of your life. And
Uh-huh.
this world has no regulation. In
No.
fact, the only way this world can be this world is a long way of saying that, you know, is that this becomes people's identity, but there's so much trauma embedded. And unless you've studied the behavioral sciences deeply, unless you've had therapy your whole life, unless you've studied psychiatry, psychology and different things to the utmost level, like even a little thing like most of us all thought we knew what a narcissist was just by breathing in America, right?
Right.
And then you finally look at what is the actual definition of narcissist personality disorder, what's the test, right? And you see things in there and it's like, oh my God, I had no idea.
Mhm.
So it's very, very understandable, this misunderstandings out there.
Do you
um
do you
but
think
it's like crazy.
do you think people are, with the trauma that they have, I've noticed that people are advocating too soon. They've got to take care of themselves and get squared away with their issues before they
That's a
pro-
great
professionally advocate.
Yeah, that's a great observation. And what we're trying to say to people is,
Mhm.
we have a great partner in our project, Taranon, all right, that
Mhm.
they offer free therapy for toxic abuse relationships. And we're telling our members all the time, don't commingle your therapy needs with your advocacy needs.
Mhm.
If you're coming into advocacy groups and do groups, like we're here to do something, but you feel compelled to go into a Q&A and you have no question, you're just taking the opportunity to trauma dump your entire case right after you hear we are not a group to do this. We do not do that. We don't endlessly talk about our own individual cases. We give the reasons why, because we can't win this one case at a time. We have to look at all the cases collectively.
Mhm.
And at the end of hearing all of that or not hearing it, you just come out and do that anyway. That's your trauma speaking, right? It's poison. You've got to get it out. So you have resources out there to do that for free, which is phenomenal. And like you said, I think people would be really, really better served if they separated those two worlds, if they got out of their system what they needed to, and
Mhm.
part of our process is that, doing the 3 to 5 minute video. And I would just want to put this out there. So many people want to post and join us for the first time. Hi, I just want to introduce myself. Great. Okay, please read what you're doing here. Okay, your 3 to 5 minute video is the way you introduce yourself. All right. I need help. Yes, we all need help. I
Right.
had this happened.
Mm.
And, I mean, it's very easy to be, smarmy about it. But these are traumatized people and they're really not in a position to sit there and rationally do their due diligence, do their research. Nobody does that on Facebook anyway, right?
Right.
It's just come in there and just fly by the seat of your pants. And you just need to solve your immediate problem. And so many of these people don't have a voice at all. So they get the first second of a voice, But what we're trying to do in our project is not, and this is very important. What we're trying to do in our project is not come in as some white knight with a cape and say, we are here to save 12,000 people's individual cases. You know that thing that you've just suffered nothing but loss after loss after loss? Well, me and my 20 volunteers have the ability to serve all. No, I mean, the best thing that we can do is teach a man to fish, right? Is
Mhm.
say, look, the whole thing about this project is we said, my God, what if I knew in year one what I finally learned by year 14?
Mhm.
And Maryann, you know this, right?
Mhm.
I am not a stupid guy. I can't even tell you the level of white light moment, things that I learned in year 11, year 12.
Yeah.
Think about that. What in life takes a decade to fully understand? This.
Mhm.
Understanding that this court is not a court, that your only defense is doing this, is actually revealing this to the world, and there's a way to do it, right? Going and bitching to your 500 friends on Facebook will land you in jail,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Doing it on a public ledger that's backed up by a 30-year Wall Street fiduciary that has shown their processes. This is how we vet a truth on this site, has gone through the pain of having to be judge on who sounds like they're telling the truth and who sounds like they don't. And again, we're not evaluating everyone. We're relying on red flag indicators and things like this. But still, it's nobody else is taking that approach. Like, let me be the judge. All right. The people that are advocating out there a lot of times are friends with everybody, right? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
hey, I don't want to start anything with anybody. And there's a lot of mental illness and just people are stuck in fight
Yeah.
or flight mode, right? They just have to fight with somebody for any reason. And nothing, Maryann, we were just
Mhm.
talking before offline. I always look for these things we call jump off the page statistic, these single events that are so profound that they tell the whole story. Like we announced our 20th, 21st, and 22nd success
Mhm.
recently at the project. And and we're saying outright, look, we're not saying we won everybody's case. We're just saying if you were the person in those shoes that we're helping and this happened to you, you would be quite happy, right? For
Mhm.
this to happen. So one of those was my right hand, my sister in this project, Amy Duncan,
Mhm.
her son as a student at LSU. I think this is all because they know her work with me. And
Mhm.
there's some history there where we've called out the Louisiana, law enforcement for some pretty shady stuff.
Mhm.
And this kid was in a college bar fight thing type of.
Oh,
He didn't
yeah.
even. He was just with people, right? You know what I mean? And this police officer, winds up booking this kid, and because he wouldn't rat on his friends.
Mm.
We're talking about taking the fifth. Okay. Since when is that a crime?
Right.
Refusing. You have no obligation to talk to the police. So the bottom line is through the Warrior Project, because Amy is so loved, she put out an announcement to the Warriors, and 500 people acted selflessly, picked up the phone and called that precinct. 500 of them.
Wow.
Sure. Being the person answering that phone. Hello. What's going on with Christopher Duncan? What's going on, Christopher Duncan? What's going on? Release him. Release. You know what I mean? This is finally something we can do that. And I keep saying, okay, what the system has done is remove every human brain seeks pleasure, avoids pain.
Mhm.
They have no pain in their world. No matter what they do, no one is inflicting pain, no matter what they do.
Mhm.
They're not losing their job. They're not they're not losing pay. They're not losing their reputation. The police are not coming. The FBI is not coming. The U.S. Marshals are not coming. Zero pain. So if that's the dynamic, why not go for broke? Why not go for the most amount of money you could possibly get? So what are we trying to do with the project? Create an alternative pain system. And the idea here is, what do they do care about? They know they're breaking the law, and they care very much if everyone in their world knows they're breaking the law, right? So we announced that as one success. Then we saw that Chelsea, okay, from Ohio, walked into her first court case, and after being prepped by Justin nicely, our star out in Canton, Ohio, he prepped her in 24 hours. She walked in there, and the first thing she said is, "I'm a member of the Family Court Fraud Warrior Project. Here's Dave Weigel's telephone number. You got any questions? Speak to him." They gave her child back 2 weeks later.
Hmm.
And now you tell me, have you heard of anything close to that happening?
No.
Okay. That speaks volumes. So if you're a victim in this world and you're separated from your child and you've been abused, and you see this glimmer of hope that there is a process, a way to actually succeed, actually change your life for the better. But what triggers in your mind is not appreciation, not joy, not anything good. What it triggers is complete vitriol. I need to fight with this man. I need to discredit this organization. Um, I need to form political alliances to take down this guy. Like, what in the heck is going on here? Like, you talk about a jump off the page statistic. What? Make sense of that for me, please.
Hmm.
You know?
People seem to get, if they're not ready to advocate, how do I put this? They get jealous of someone else's success in getting their
Right.
kids back.
Right. And I get that, right? Here I got my kids back 20 months ago. I'm not here saying, ha ha, I'm smart, you're stupid, blah, blah, blah. But that's what they hear. And even though I'm saying, hey, listen, I could have said bye 20 months ago and said, good luck, everybody, in putting this whole project together. I'm
Hmm.
putting my best foot forward. Does that not mean anything to you? But when you are so damaged by this system, I give them a pass. I may yell at them in the moment,
Hmm.
but when I go to bed at the end of the night, I'm feeling sorry for these people because I know they're not reacting rationally to me. They're reacting purely from the outrageous level of torture they've been through.
Hmm.
I really have.
Oh,
I
I
really,
agree with you. I agree with you.
but it doesn't make it easier to deal with in the moment. I'll tell you that. And it's not
Right.
helping. It's not.
No, no. And, like I had said, these advocates are backbiting. And, we've got to get along. We've got to stick together and get along so we can accomplish something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's been the one thing when I first formed this project and I mapped it all out and I put a lot of hours into it. One of the key pillars of our first priorities was uniting all
Hmm.
these. I went in there and I went on the very first podcast I've done. It was a gentleman from England. He was trying to find us and he said, wow, I didn't realize there's 390 Facebook groups on family court fraud. That's not including the CPS cases. It's 2,000. And this was a year ago, Maryann, right? So who knows what it is now, right? And I'm like, wait, that doesn't make any sense, right? Because if 390 people are screaming at the same time, guess what? That's noise, right?
Hmm.
Nobody hears anything, right? We have to, and and everyone I speak to, honestly, it's the most discouraging, sad thing that why, if we have this same enemy, why can we not find a way to be, I mean, at least work together well. We don't have to be best friends,
Right.
but at least work together. How is this the opposite? Right. And then you could take that apart. You can say, look, when people do step up to be an advocate, it is so important to them, it becomes their identity. So when they finally settle on a way, this is my way, and you're coming in there, and even the nicest you could say it,
Hmm.
look, I was there too. It took me 11 years to figure it out. You're only doing this 4.
Hmm.
Believe me, I'm not indicating that you're stupid. I'm not saying I'm stupid, right? Took me
Hmm.
11 years, but you're going to see this because logically, look what we're talking about, right? These are the numbers. These are, if you take off of work and spend the next year doing this research, you're going to see these are the numbers. So therefore, you really can't approach this expecting, and we try to bottom line it for people, saying if you're still following some legal process, thinking a legal process is going to work, aren't you really going back to the mafia and saying, mafia, rule against yourself?
Hmm.
And do they get it? Yeah, but they don't want to get it, right?
Hmm.
They're married to this. It's like, no, you've already taken my child away. If you tell me I'm wrong now, they're associating those two, right? They're saying, I can't be wrong. If I'm wrong, that's the same thing as this dignity robbing of you stealing my kid. And it's not. It's not, right? We're saying, no, we were in your shoes too, but this is the reality here. It is such a mangled system. And you go through the psychology. What are we all conditioned with? What's the number one genre of show? Law and Order, CSI. We've been conditioned by this, so subconsciously, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every single show is, oh, what happens at the end? The law prevails, right? Doesn't the
Yeah.
law always prevail in those shows at the end, right? The Dudley Do Right, the lawyer has got to go, integrity of steel and a heart of gold and such horse shit. And it just is the complete opposite in reality.
Mhm.
And, so yeah, I don't know what the answer is. Certainly it's this, certainly it's talking about it,
Mhm.
and I always say to everybody out there, I'm going to give you a little tidbit of little insight as to one of our key red flag indicators. It's called the Maryann Petri. If you have a problem with Maryann Petri, guess what? You are the problem. Okay. Because that's the nicest woman on the planet.
Oh,
Okay. If
well, thank
you've
you.
got a problem with this woman, you are the problem. That's not 99.9% probability. That's
Mhm.
100% probability.
Oh,
Right. And I'm not, that's a very serious thing that we're going with because who's got the time to fully analyze anyone's legal case? And
mhm,
it doesn't matter. You've done 800 of these, right?
mhm.
Have you ever seen, oh, one person really figured out the legal maze properly? There is a way now to model. That's all anybody needs to do is they just need to follow this path legally
Uh-huh.
and the law will work then, right? No, right?
Right. Because they're so overwhelmed when they're going through this.
Uh-oh, frozen here a sec. Oh, I was just frozen there for a second. I just missed your last comment.
Oh, I was going to say, people are so overwhelmed,
Yeah,
in the moment because they're still going through it, and then they're trying to advocate at the same time.
right, right,
That's
right.
and that's like a recipe for disaster, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. So, I mean, we're trying to give people like the indicators, right? Like we said, like I said before, like if you're coming onto an advocacy group that's about due and you need to completely just trauma dump, that's a real big indicator of saying that you need some therapy work, to do. But then there's still a whole lot of people out there that still see that as some sort of a negative. You're throwing an insult out of me. You're calling me crazy. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
always explain them like, look, the body can get sick, the
Yeah.
brain can get sick,
Mm-hmm.
right? You go on a plane with 200 people with the flu, guess what? You're getting the flu, right?
Right.
And nobody's ever been like, oh my God, Maryann, you got the flu last week? Ew. Oh my
Yeah.
God. You're like, no one ever does that. But with mental health, I mean, it's changing now, but it's kind of like an old, outdated thing, but it's still out there
Right.
and people still see it as a negative. But we try to educate people, and we do a lot with our education series and healing series to say, come on, we all have complex PTSD. How could you not?
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. Because I mean, I had a therapist back in I think 2014, and I went to a therapist in order to deal with people that need to go to a therapist.
Right.
But I'm a lifer. I still talk to her, and it just doesn't end for a lot of
No.
people.
I consider it's like a brain coach, right? Like
Right.
it's going to the gym, right? Like if you've got the means and the ability, I think every human being on the planet should be working with a therapist. And I know so many people that believe that. I mean, with what I do, I'm basically a professional athlete with my brain. So I mean, if Tiger Woods can have a coach, why can't I have a coach? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean, I've been seeing I see three people, okay, and I have for the last, 3 years, but I've always had one to two since like God, 2016 when, this all really, really, really heated up,
Mhm.
But like anything, and this is an important thing to bring up to people, is that PTSD and complex PTSD are two totally different things,
Yep.
guys. Right? Like they share the first like five attributes, but then there's three that are completely unique to complex PTSD, which is multiple traumas. Okay. Not one.
Mhm.
PTSD is I went down in a plane. Oh my God, I'm afraid of planes.
Right.
Right. So what do they tell you to get over it? Exposure. Get back on that plane, go up there, see that you don't die, and
Yeah.
now you're healed. With complex PTSD is, oh, you've been okay abused by this narcissist parent for 14 years of your life. Let's
Hmm.
go back there. No, that's the last thing you want to do. What you want to do to heal from complex PTSD is to slowly every day do the things that remove yourself from it. What are those things? Okay, don't isolate. Find a community. All right,
Hmm.
do yoga. All right, the breathing
Self-care.
techniques, breathe, all these self-care techniques. I
Hmm.
mean, nothing helps like getting your kid back. I can tell you that from personal experience.
Hmm.
And so many people, that's what we're going for. But even on that, I mean, like you just said, I mean, I really felt like I had a lot of different distance from my CPTSD.
Yeah.
And then now in this last 6 months, it's brought it back full on
Hmm.
because of everyone I'm dealing with, right? The shared trauma of these stories that we live doing what we do, you
Yeah.
know? And so yeah, it's an interesting thing to both look at it from within and from a distance, and then be shoved back into it again. And I will say here, this is also why you need a community, because it's very difficult to see a broken brain with that same broken brain. This is when you need friends around you that say, "Hey, Dave, you're really angry right now, all right, and you're making a lot of decisions based on your anger. Do you think this is the smartest move right now, or do you want to just sleep on it and then come back to it in a day?" And that's the right move.
Hmm.
It's the right move, but it's so hard for just you to do it by yourself in the moment,
Hmm.
But it's why there's so many reasons why this community that we're this altruistic community that we're trying to foster in the Warrior Project is so paramount, right? Like yeah, we're trying to take down these monsters, but every day while we're doing it, we're also trying to heal, every one of our brothers and sisters that are connected with us. And to do that, like it takes like a good 6 months, right?
Hmm.
6 months every day, you got to pay the meter. You got to do something that removes yourself. Like, oh, I was going to trauma dump. Nope. Nope, I stopped myself. Nope, I stopped myself. Oh, I'm gonna now because I hate myself, I'm gonna do something that really hurts myself. No, I'm not. I'm gonna go to my bed and I'm not gonna watch TV till 4 in the morning. I'm gonna get a good night's sleep.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go to yoga. I'm gonna go do my meditation for an hour or what have you. I'm gonna go help another.
Hmm.
Right? It's a big part of our whole project. You want to get out of your head? Go help another. Right? Don't
That's
know why it
perfect.
works. This is borrowing from the AA model and
Hmm.
recovery, but it works. And really, do you really want to throw away anything that can help you, at this point? And my God, people, we need it because if we're sitting there watching, you know, um, first in ever, first evers, right? This woman, Helen, we stood behind. I went up there and we court watched for her, and I couldn't believe Maryann sitting this judge. First of all, she made us all announce ourselves, come in, court watchers. Who are you and why are you here? Kind of a thing. And I felt like saying, because it's my damn right as an American citizen. That's all you
Uh-huh.
need to know, Judge, right? Because you get paid by the public and
Yeah.
this is, checks and balances. Do you know where you are right now? You're in this place called America, right? But that's not the way they think. And everyone
Mm-mm.
got up, said, oh, I'm this person. I'm a supporter. This person, I'm a friend. This person. I stood up. I said, I'm Dave Weigel from the Family Court Fraud Warrior Project. And the first thing she did is she went into, it's been made to my attention. There's been leaking to social media, not reporting to the press, not acting in your First Amendment right to seek support. All right. No, there's been leaking on social of confidential documents. All lies, right?
Right.
When I heard her saying that, it wasn't planned. It just erupted inside me. I stood up and I said, are you kidding me? How is this legal? I was like, do you think you're in Russia, lady? You think you're in China? I said,
Did
we're
you
on
really?
you. We are watching you. I said, we are on you. And right then, Maryann, I said, okay, here come the cops tackling
Oh
me.
man.
And guess what? Nope. They were on our side. It
Hmm.
makes sense. These guys don't like seeing what they're seeing.
Hmm.
Were they supposed to step in the middle and be the first one to stand up and say, they're bye-bye to my pension. They live in the community.
Hmm.
The same mechanism to retaliate against, whistleblowers that are victims could
Hmm.
be done to a good Samaritan cop. Okay.
Hmm.
And they have families, they have responsibilities, right? So I found out they were waiting for a guy like me to show up and just jump in the pool first. And they sent their message because as soon as I did that, I couldn't believe it. I turned around and I just walked out, and they didn't even come like next to me, right? They just literally stood back, right? And I looked over my shoulder when I was walking out and I said, I'm on your side, right? And he goes like this to me, he goes, yes, we do. Yes, we do know that, right? And I was really, really enthused, and it really made me think like, wow, there's real hope here because there's a lot of really good people inside the system that
Hmm.
want to see our work continue, and we've got, and that really inspired to continue. And lo and behold, now you've heard a lot of these cases, Maryann. Frame this out, right? So here's a hot shot from New York, loudmouth, guy, right, who disrespects this judge in her own lair, stands up, points in her face. Then I get out of the courthouse and I do a live that she found, and I call her a fat pig, okay, and then I explain. Ladies, okay, I know it's not nice when you see any man comment on the physical attributes of any woman, but who are we talking about here? This is a person who is a terrorist, a
Oh,
family terrorist, right? She hung up her right as a woman to deserve respect long when she sold her first kid. She
yeah.
hung up her right to be spoken to with respect. All
Hmm.
right. And is there anything more piggish than that? Right.
Mm.
So even after explaining all that, she heard about all that. Right. They saw everything. So now, right, when Helen had to be back in court a week later or 2 weeks later, right? And they're sending her messages from her own attorney saying, if you do not remove everything from that Warrior Project, you're going to pay the price. You're going to be jailed, right? And Helen's like, I don't own it. And it's true. Helen's
Yep.
one of 11,000 victims. That's it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Someone we found, happened upon her case, and it was so glaring it became a campaign case. But obviously, I didn't know the woman's name 6 weeks earlier, right? So,
Mhm.
like, but they're basically saying, oh no, this guy Weigel figured out a model that actually works. Our retaliation machine doesn't work if you don't live in our sphere of corruption. Right? He lives in Manhattan. They can't pick up the phone and be like, hey, we don't like this Weigel guy. Be like, ah, okay. So they couldn't punish me, but what could they do? They could punish her to send a message to me and to everyone else not to do that. So they threatened that like crazy. 3 times over 3 days, they said, you're going to be jailed. You're going to lose custody of your child. You're going to lose your career. All right. All messages coming from her own attorney, right? Which is, of course, her attorney. Like she isn't, the message giver there.
Right.
Although I have heard that she actually has now been inspired and is standing up and challenging the court too. So, I mean, you never know here. I'd love to believe that is the case. But anyway, she was feeding these messages, and then it actually sent a text saying that if anyone from the Warrior Project or if anyone shows up to court to support you on Friday, you are going to pay the price. You're going to pay the price. So they were really being obnoxiously upfront about how they were going to punish her, and
Mhm.
and we didn't back down. We doubled down too, and we said, not only are we going to be there, we're going to be there in droves. We're going to be there with tons of people. We're going to be in your face, which we keep saying to people, there's a big propensity to back down. Since when does backing down to a bully ever work? Right.
Right.
So we did that, and you know what actually happened? Even though the day before they pulled this absolute monster we call the Black Widow, this Elizabeth Faulkner woman up in Ulster County. I mean, she has destroyed more families. She does it for
Oh,
fun. Okay, she has married 3 of her clients. Maryann, she's been married and divorced 5 times. This attorney, I don't even think she's 50 years old. I think she's 40. Like 5 marriages, 3 have been clients. So picture this. She comes in, destroys the mom, steals the kids, then winds up effing the ex-husband and moving in
wow.
with the ex-husband and the kids that she stole, right?
Oh
And
my
then
God.
divorces and takes all their money, right? So that's real Black Widow stuff, right? So we
Whoa.
we reported on the outrageousness of this, which is stuff that you never hear in a court of law, right?
Hmm.
So my question to you is, do you think that judge really had a motivation to not appear weak and tuck her tail between her legs, right? Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
In between her legs, right? Well, that Friday came, and what happened? The judge ruled against the attorney, kept the child with Helen,
Wow.
completely denied her 400-page motion calling Helen the worst, parent on the planet for this. For her association to us, by talking to us, this was grounds for her to lose her child, right? The judge denied it and recused herself that day. I quit.
Awesome.
I quit. Now,
Wow.
now here's the mind. Now, when we reported that, now how many people, how many victims could picture themselves in Helen's shoes and picture, oh my God, how happy would I be if I was Helen in that moment?
Hmm.
That's not what they saw, Maryann. They saw, who the hell is this Weigel guy reporting successes, and how does that reflect on me? Right?
Hmm.
That's what's blown my mind here. Right? It's like, guys, come on here. Right?
Hmm.
This is not a competition here. This
Right.
is, can we get this done together as a community here? Who cares? Right? I don't want I'm only announcing successes because this is what helps the movement.
Right.
We need We need the rest of everybody else out there saying, keep me the hell away from this warrior project. I don't want my name there. So we're speaking to them. We're not saying, ha ha, we got success and you don't.
Mhm.
How do people hear that? And that was over a year. I think the answer is that they become their advocacy becomes their identity.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, the mental derangement is that that's what they hear. They hear, forget about Helen, forget about how good this is for the community.
Mhm.
How does this make me feel? This makes me feel less than because I've worked so hard and I haven't had this success. So how dare he do that? How dare he report this as a success?
Mhm.
That's what they see. And that, if that's not mental illness, I don't know what is.
Exactly. Yeah, it's they get jealous, and I'm always happy for people's successes. I want to hear successes.
Yeah. You've been dealing with this a long time. I've been dealing with this a long time. I've got my kids back. You haven't. I don't know how you're so strong, but yeah, I mean, you've had a lot of years to grow up thick skin and you've got medical training, you've got your education, you've got everything that you've learned over these years. So the people that are going through the only thing I find so hard to believe is why is it so hard when you say, well, can you just look inward for a second?
Mhm.
Doesn't this sound a little crazy that you're reacting this way to a good thing?
Mhm.
Right. And I just don't see the effort like of somebody just saying, well, wait, maybe you're right. Let me just look with it. It's just boom. Like, what do you mean? Like the concept, like, what do you mean I can be wrong right here? Like, what human is perfect? What human
Right.
is doesn't get anything, doesn't get multiple things wrong, a day, So yeah, that's difficult here because
Mhm.
I would hate to be at this point right now, Maryann, where it's like, oh my God, 22 successes. How do we get to 30? How do we get to 40? But if we don't get there, knowing that it was our own community that shot us down, right when we finally turned the corner, we had a model that started working. And instead of it, everyone getting behind us to get it going, it was mutiny at this point? How does that make sense at all? I must be the most hated looking guy in the world. Like my ability to extract hate from people must be, mwah,
Yeah.
uh, and it's true. I'm asking a whole bunch of our volunteers to get much more visible, so it's more than my face, because this project is an amalgamation of all of us, and believe me, this is not all me. Okay. I mean, this is the minds of, we've had how many meetings, how many discussions, how much talking, how
Mhm.
much experience have we extracted? And it's putting, and it's building this engine. Okay. From all these, pieces of people's expertise and stuff. So hopefully we're going to have a lot more people stepping forward. So maybe them just seeing different faces, it might ring differently at some point. But yeah, it's pretty amazing that this is the dynamic right now,
Mhm.
the level of infighting between advocates right now. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I agree. I'll go out here on a limb. I don't know if I should, but I try to unite the moms and the dads. You know,
Yeah,
it's not about the moms, it's not about the dads. Can we pull together as parents, please? Please.
yeah, yeah. That's especially difficult. Our mantra has been from the beginning, like, we do not want to push any men's groups that have men's rights in the name, just the same way as we don't want to push moms, because it's truly not a mom versus dad issue, right? We've seen them, okay, harm. Okay, if you got money, that's it. That's the only thing that matters. So with that as the basis, you would think it'd be easier to just ignore those ends of the spectrum there.
Mhm.
What I've noticed, though, is that's where the real mental illness is. And that's also where the real marketing is, right? There are people in this community that are not advocates, they're opportunists.
Mhm.
Okay. You have an embedded audience, right? If you come out and say, I'm a man and I hate women, you've got an instant amount of really angry men out there. That's your audience. It's weak and it's cheating and it's lowbrow. It's JV baseball. Okay. It's junior
Hmm.
varsity. And also equally on the women's side too. The women are like, I mean, look, I mean, there has been a very big divide between the privilege that white men have had versus women throughout thousands of years. It doesn't go bye-bye in one generation. I understand that. Okay. But with this, you would think that that aspect, yeah, I can only imagine what daggers got thrown in your back for just trying that altruistic like endeavor, right? Like
Right. I
crazy.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I think in a larger degree too, we're talking a lot with this organization, Darvia, and their whole purpose is to really address this rise of narcissism, rise
Hmm.
of narcissistic behavior, especially online, right? Online social media, we know it rewards narcissist behavior and
Hmm.
it penalizes, good behavior, right? If somebody comes in there and says, "Hey, I heard Dave Weigel really, is, has sex with chickens on the weekends." You know what I mean? You got, instant friends right there. Oh, yeah, come with us, kind of a thing. But I heard another person say, "Hey, Dave, I heard some people talking bad about you, and I was just about to stand up for you, but I just like, I don't want those people coming after me. They could like really, really mess my world up." And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but don't you see this is why we're have the family court
Hmm.
situation to begin with, right?
Hmm.
So it's one thing to say that, but the amount of people willing to endure the pain of standing up to do the right thing. I mean, look, we said from the beginning, the real narcissists out there, they're very believable. You're not going to catch them
No.
until you look at the evidence, until you research the evidence, and they know nobody does that. Nobody, and there's always something to say, right? We hear that what we've built has something, we have the ability to really, really crush a narcissist and prevent a narcissist from being able to create more victims. How? Because for the first time in history, there's this thing called the internet. There's this thing called social media where we are this community of victims. We're at a point here right now where we're a news channel where we can get the message out, the evidence out far and wide enough for the first time in history so that enough people can sit there and say, "Oh, no, 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 no. We know the truth now. So now this person cannot go to another subgroup and harm people there and another one." And this is how these narcissists,
Hmm.
survive and harm people throughout life. They just completely, oh, they got found out. They move, they go create another identity, they walk into another group, and then there's always another unsuspecting victim, the next day. And then there's just this sea of victims behind them. So these people do exist. They're
Hmm.
in this community, and you have to know the signs to be able to protect yourself. Because if you get wrapped up with one of these types of people, I mean, Maryann, I mean, you know personally, okay? You took the heat for just having me on, having the audacity. What, we don't want to bring any names up or anything, but poor Maryann here got completely harassed. It's crazy. You had to go to the police and report this. And I mean, how much time and effort, and you feel, how did that make you feel? You're violated, right? And
Yeah.
they know this. They know this, and they're cheating. And they know they're going to be more, they're more motivated than you are. You'll get to the point if you're like, okay, let's just move on with your life. You're a normal person. Not
Hmm.
them. Not
No.
them. They will not stop until someone stops them. And it's about time someone stopped them. And the Warrior Project is here to say, we're willing to do the hard work. All right. I'll deal with having to, too many people would sit there and say, "Oh, forget it, man. I'm not going to have to deal with my regulators. I'm going to risk losing my fund, risk losing, my mark on my license."
Hmm.
No, I knew what evidence we had, and I knew what evidence I have of my integrity in 30 years. And I said, you know what? Things are so bad now. I'm really worried about the next gen. If we don't fix this problem, like, do you think about that much? Like, if we don't fix this problem, what are our kids and our grandkids inheriting here?
They're inheriting more personality disorders that they have to deal with. And I was told on a podcast that 1 in 15 are sociopaths. So, and I think, and I know I'm dropping, but the thing is, family court has been in operation for what, the last 50 years? So, how many
Yeah.
generations have gone through it? And um, you, they're
Yeah.
all personality disorders that walk out of there. I even parents' personalities change. Then their
Mm,
kids are manipulated through child psychological abuse, and now their brains are messed up. They are now personality disorders. So
right.
if they do meet a nice person, they're going to get married. And then when
Right.
they start having kids, the cycle is going to continue of dragging someone else in through family court. And
And
that's
getting
why,
worse and getting worse every time
yes,
and having more repercussions and it getting worse and worse. Yep.
I'm doom and
And
gloom. I'm so sorry. That's what I am.
yeah, but you know what? It's got to be talked about. But at least these are two people here that are doing something about it, and we're doing stuff that is actually working. This is not just, let's all cry and poo poo and have a one up, one up each other on who's got the worst story here. So we got to talk about these things. We got to talk
Mhm.
about these things. They're happening. I cannot believe that these people that are these culprits can justify this knowledge away. They know this.
Mhm.
They know what they're doing to these families. They know what they're doing to these kids. They have to live here.
Yeah.
Like, what are they thinking? Do you want to live in Brazil where you got to put your kid to school? He's got to be in an armored car. You got to worry about whether your
Mhm.
wife was kidnapped for money. Okay. Is having money worth that? Right? Having a Ferrari worth that? Like, I have to live in a world where I have to worry about my children being kidnapped for ransom
Mhm.
because we're in such a lawless society, right? And you know what it is, though? This boils down to family court is the taint of the legal system. Okay. These are the dumbest, okay, throwaways in the world. All right. The corporate lawyers and the real judges out there, they have no respect for these people. These
Mhm.
people barely passed the bar association, probably the bar exam, probably took 5 times to just pass the entry level exam. They purposely pick them. They look for people that are underachievers and they give them too much power. So they sit up there with their chip on their shoulder, knowing they're of a lesser intelligence and knowing they have this inner desire to show people just what power they have, right?
Yep.
It's really sinister. It's really evil. Like it's like literally out of the Bible evil.
Oh, it is. It's evil incarnate. Just like that music from Damien the Omen. If anyone can remember that music, I can't think of the title of that music.
Yeah, right. um, but you know what? we got we got some warriors that are, I mean, I've got some really outrageously wonderful people at my side here now and more coming in every day. And it might have a little bit of a moment here where the cream has to rise to the top and the
Hmm.
crap has to fall to the bottom here a little bit.
Hmm.
That some of these people out here that are selling snake oil and just realize they're in an unregulated world here and they can sell, people because, hey, look, we put on National Geographics, right? Well, what do vultures and parasites do? They sit there looking at the herd and looking for the weak, the old, and the sick
Hmm.
to pick off. Same thing here, right? You've got opportunists that are looking to create a business model to take advantage of the weak, the old, and the sick, and in our case, the traumatized.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
they want to hear, don't pay a lawyer, just pay me
Mhm.
$1,000. I'm a paralegal. I can fill out all your forms for you, or I'll go advocate for you, or join my bill, or this or that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And these people are hurting the movement because they're
Mhm.
gonna get found out, right? And
Mhm.
look, we don't need 1,000 leaders, okay, to get this thing done. We just need to come together in one cohesive fashion and come together selflessly, right?
Right.
I want to point out, maybe you can echo this. When I see people fail, like almost get to the line of succeeding and then fail, I always see it always is from a root of selfishness,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they could have gone right or left, but right would have right serves their ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
And left serves their children. And they take that right turn to serve self. And that I see as the root of where they come up short time and time again, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to preach in our group that that's the only lens we look at everything through. Is this person being selfless or is this person being selfish?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You
Mm-hmm.
know, if they're being selfless, this is the recipe for the greatness that we need to get this job done. Is there anything more boring than, you know, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's all about me, me, me. Look how
Right.
wonderful I am. Look how smart I am. You know, it's like boring. You know,
Yeah.
we try to be very respectful to like, hey, people are listening to us. Well, how can we add value? How can we take them, have them come away from this more equipped to deal with this world better, right? More educated, right? More empowered, more inspired, you know, more ready to deal with this stuff. And I guess it's a good time to interject here that you know we formulated at the group where we are now. We have a mission within the mission, and we realized now that we're at 22 successes here, what do we need to do? And we said, well, we need to do is we need to focus on these 10 pillars, these 10 things that we think um, do this one thing. And this one thing is to get the message out to all the culprits to say, oh my God, keep me the hell away from this warrior project. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Give the kid back, change the rulings, recuse yourself, do whatever you got to do. I'm not going anywhere near that. So, what do we need to do? Right.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we need to do is keep getting our audience bigger and bigger. So that's
Mm-hmm.
going to look self-serving, but it's not, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you know, if 1,000 people know a judge is dirty, does it do anything? No. If everyone in the state knows a judge is dirty and everyone in his own community knows he's dirty and his own wife can't go to the corner store without people going, shh, shh, shh. This works, people. This works. So we need more eyeballs. And the other thing we need to do is we need to drop big evidence, not just evidence of a narcissist who's a horrible person and actually abused her 4 children, not actually as a victim of this court.
Mm-hmm.
That's just sad. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sad and gut wrenching. Now I'm talking about on Sunday, we are dropping the biggest news any community watchdog organization has ever dropped in all of history. We are dropping the actual video, Maryann,
Mm-hmm.
of what got a man murdered for okay. It it happened
Unalived.
unalived. Okay, we can bleep that out maybe.
Yeah.
Uh, yes. So the bottom line is we are doing a full reveal. Okay, this man who is an absolute gem. He's actually a national treasure. This Bryce Chapman from
Mm-hmm.
Lubbock, Texas. He's currently on the run. And he entrusted us, and I found in the mail a thumb drive, okay, that he had sent to me. And one of the pieces on there is a video of them auctioning off his $100 million land for $250,000
Oh.
to a one bidder auction in the courthouse to the judge's son's best friend. And we
Oh.
have all of the evidence. We are laying it all out, okay, in breadcrumbs, okay, in logic and lineal form with the players and the names and their pictures. And yes, this video, okay, they didn't know it was being taken. All right, they arrested this Bryce, and from jail, he wrote a handwritten letter to the attorney saying, by the way, I have the auction videoed. And they figured out who videoed that auction because there's only 6 people in
Mm.
the court. Only 6 people in the court. Now, this guy happened to work for Bryce, lived in a trailer on his land. And would you know, 3 weeks later, Maryann,
Oh.
3 weeks after that letter was written, alerting the other side that there's this video, they found that man dead, shot in the stomach,
Oh.
that they marked a suicide. you've got a little bit of medical background history. I always thought if somebody wanted to commit suicide, they want to end the pain. Does anybody want to end the pain by shooting themselves in the gut and having the most grueling experience ever, and
Mm.
possibly taking a day to bleed out and die from that, the most grueling experience? Has that ever happened in the entire history of the world?
No, never heard of that because when usually males, when they unalive themselves, they um Gunshot
Yeah.
to the HEAD.
Right, right. It's always a major organ that is just going to be lights out,
Yep.
right? This man also just had back surgery. He was in a wheelchair. So picture that, okay? Clearly, this was not a suicide. All right.
Mhm.
And I don't know, was I there? How can I sit there and say we know who is responsible for this? Very simple. You look at who's the financial beneficiary and by what degree. Okay. $100 million land was sold for $250,000. That's real motive for
Unalive.
MURDER.
Right.
Always has been, always will be. And it didn't end there, because 3 months later is the news report that shows that the person that they sold the land to joined the judge who has adjoining land there and sold it for 250 million to a power company. So
Oh no.
boom, that was not even that level of gain. There was an embedded level of gain of a deal already on the table. And guess what? Bryce wouldn't sell. He wouldn't sell the land. The judge who had the adjoining land did want to sell the land. Bryce didn't. Lo and behold, let's use the family court now. The good old
Oh
family
no.
court. They threw him in jail for $25,000 of back paid child support,
Oh,
kept him there 583 days. And in that time period, they auctioned off. And on top of this, Maryann, this guy's a direct descendant from Abraham Lincoln.
oh,
So what's going on in this country? We still live in America,
oh
right? We live in
man.
America where this band of idiots in robes, okay, can sit there and fleece the land from Abraham Lincoln's descendants. We don't live in America anymore. All right. We live in Nicaragua or wherever. Okay.
Yeah,
But
it's like the
come
song.
Sunday, we are naming names.
Mhm.
We are dropping the evidence and we are naming names of these culprits. And we are putting a call out to the FBI, who the FBI have been the absolute most treasonous bunch of losers on the planet.
Mhm.
Okay, how you could sit there letting this happen to families and call yourself a law enforcement, but we know you don't step out of your office for judges, dirty judges in family court. That's not your. But I do believe MERDER is still your jurisdiction. So
Mhm. Mhm.
we're dropping this out and we are making a national plea and a humiliation plea to get out of your office and do your job.
I think
Okay.
that's what Cash Patel wanted. He wanted them out of their offices and doing their job.
Yeah. Imagine that. But you know what the
Yeah.
problem is, Maryann? They're all lawyers too.
Mhm.
They all carry this bar card too. And the bar, and this is why our major campaign is, we're looking to bring in 2,000 bar complaints because we finally connected the dots and said, oh my God, Amy did all this research.
Oh.
And by their own annual reports shows that they reject
Mhm.
98% plus of all bar complaints. Nope, you used the wrong form. You did this, you did it. It's not valid, not valid, not
It's
valid.
not unethical enough.
Yeah, no, 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 right? And they never thought that anyone would connect all these victims, and they never thought that anyone would be able to get these complaints into one place like we can right now. As soon as we get 2,000 showing how valid they are next to these annual reports showing, boom, there's your evidence that they've obstructed justice. They've hidden the evidence. They are responsible for this family court above anyone.
Right.
Okay. People wanted to know, and they've asked me a bunch of times, hey, who is really at fault in the '08, financial crisis? The regulators. Okay. The regulators who stamped these mortgages, AAA securities, and were not. They were the ones at the end of the day, all right, that it was their job to do their job. They didn't do it. All right. Wall Street's going to be filled with certain types of people. If you let them run wild, they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Same thing here. Who's at fault? Who created the family court? The Bar Association. They are the biggest criminals in this country. They're treasonous. Okay. They are guilty of treason against this country. All right. Our enemies would never be so smart to destroy this country from within this way. What a phenomenal way to destroy America. Just
Mm,
sit there and watch America destroy itself over 30 years via the family court, right?
right.
And who's doing it? Our own people, except who are these arch enemy criminals? Do they look, are they all tattooed up? Do they got, tattoos on their face and
Mm-mm.
and piercings? No, they wear suits. They wear suits
Mhm.
and come from great schools, right? And I'm going to end this on one major announcement that is so apropos. We've gotten word that the Hells Angels are behind us, are behind us.
Mhm.
So how about this, right? So what about this, dichotomy and counterintuitive thought process? Who are these biggest monsters to this country ever? These people dressed in suits coming from all these great schools.
Mhm.
And who are the heroes? The guys with all the tattoos all over them, with the loud Harleys and the tattoo on the face and the piercings, okay, and all that. And why? These guys are products of the family court, and they live by a
Mm.
code, right? They live by a code. So how about that? How about them apples? Okay, to the
Yeah.
moral of the story. Who's the good guy and who's the bad guy? Not who it looks like. The
Mhm.
opposite of optics. So what's the moral of the story, everyone? Don't judge a book by its cover.
Right. Right.
Actually, do your due diligence here. Do your due diligence. I always do this to you, Maryann. You're so kind to have me on, and I just sit there and and you just sit there and fight to throw in. Like I give Maryann like 5% to say anything, and you're so giving, and you're such a good interviewer, and you let me do this. What can I say? I'm from New York.
Well, hey, how can people reach you if they have any questions and want to get into this project with
Listen,
you?
thank you very much. We have a very defined process. I'll tell you what is not the way. What is not the way is to find my phone number on the internet and just call me on the fly. I can't deal with it that way. It's not to IM me through Facebook and send me 18-page texts about your case. That's just not the way to do it. Come into our group, follow our steps. All right. If you have questions, right? You could reach out, look at the moderators in the group. All right. Danny, Amy, Justin, they're very, very visible. Every time they comment, it shows moderator, it shows admin. You could reach out to them
Mhm.
if you have a question. But the purpose of our group is not for you to call a guy like me, tell me your story, and then I come in and save everything. No, that's not how we can help you. What
Mhm.
we can help you is to arm you with how you can help yourself. That's how we can help you. So come in. The way you introduce yourself to our group is your 3 to 5 minute video, not any other way,
Mhm.
not any other way. All right. We're not doing it your way.
Mhm.
Okay. Look at the environment here. We've got thousands and thousands of people that have been trying their way and nothing but failures. We found one little sliver of a model to be successful here.
Mhm.
We're going to do it our way. We're
Mhm.
not doing it your way. Okay. If that hurts your ego, too bad. Okay. If you want our help, you're doing it our way. Follow our instructions. Come to Family Court Fraud Warrior Project on Facebook. All right. Follow our steps. Get to know our people. Go through our steps. Once you're then verified, we're gonna look at your video. We're gonna do an exit interview like this. We're gonna get to know you better, and then we could carve out some specific strategy for your particular case. But really, the number one thing people can do right now is do what Chelsea did.
Mhm. Mhm.
Find some way. The next time you have to send in a submission of any kind of a document, a motion, a response, anything, CC help at fraudwarrior.org, right? That lets the other side know, oh my God, they're a member of this group. They have not outed us yet. You now have a different dynamic. Now there is a pain system. If they hurt you, if they break the law, if they do illegal acts involved in hijacking your kids, at least now they know, oh my God, there's a chance I'm going to be outed by you letting them know that. That's changing your, we're helping you from
Hmm.
square one based on what we've done here. So do things like that. Okay. And then follow our steps and and let's hope we can really crack this system sooner rather than later for everybody. I really think we're close. I really, really do. I really do.
Well, that's great. Well, hey, don't jump off, okay? Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube. Please like and subscribe, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google, and other platforms I don't know about. Again, feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you, Dave Weigel, for
Buy
speaking
Maryann a
up.
coffee. Everyone should buy Maryann a coffee. She only asked for $20 or $12. She deserves 100 times that.
Thank you.